The first thing I heard was the storm trying to break the building. Rain hit the window like handfuls of gravel. Wind pushed so hard against the glass that the frame rattled. The overhead lights flickered, came back, then flickered again like they were scared too. The cardiac monitor beside me kept beeping in a steady rhythm, like it was counting down something I did not understand yet. Beep, beep, beep. My mouth tasted like metal. My head felt too heavy for my neck. I tried to sit up. Pain exploded in my lower leg. It was hot and sharp, like someone had dragged a knife along my calf and then poured fire into the cut. The pain shot all the way up into my teeth. I grabbed for my leg on instinct and hit thick gauze. It was already warm and damp. "Don't," a soft voice said. "If you pop that dressing, you'll repaint my whole shift." I turned my head. A woman sat in a rolling chair right beside my bed. The side rail pressed into her knee like she had dragged the chair as close as she could get. She wore a white blouse and a simple skirt, neat and practical. A small nurse cap sat pinned into dark hair that fell in loose waves over one shoulder. She was not smiling for the room. She was smiling at me, like it mattered that I was awake. "You're awake," she said. "Good. Stay that way." A faint alarm chirped somewhere in the hallway, then stopped. The lights flickered again and held. "I'm Hudson Kane," I said. My voice sounded rough and dry. "I know," she answered. "Hudson the auditor. Hudson the problem. Hudson the guy who showed up right before the weather went crazy." Her eyes didn't leave mine. "And you are?" I asked. She reached for the chart at the end of the bed and flipped it closed with 2 fingers, like she was shutting a secret. "Tessa," she said. "Night shift. The one who gets stuck here when everyone else evacuates." Outside, the wind slammed into the building again. The walls gave a low, deep groan. Somewhere far away, a heavy metal sound rolled through the hospital like a giant door slamming shut. I tried to pull my memories together. Parking garage. Concrete steps with water crawling up inch by inch. My badge scan at the side entrance. A folder under my arm that felt heavier than paper should feel. A hurricane warning on every screen. And a message from my boss that said, "Go home, we will reschedule." I had not gone home. I had come for a man named Thorne and the contracts he was hiding. I remembered the garage lights going out. A shout. A slip. A broken metal edge biting into my leg as I fell. The sick feeling of blood and dirty water mixing. The sense that if I stopped moving, the storm might just keep me. Then, nothing. Now I was in a hospital bed with my calf wrapped, my shoulder aching, and the monitor reading out my heartbeat to anyone who wanted to listen. Tessa leaned forward and looked at the screen. She did not look panicked. She looked like someone who had done this on nights like this before. She put 2 fingers on my wrist, felt my pulse, and nodded. "Your leg," she said. "Deep cut along the lower calf. You probably tore part of the muscle too." The doctor cleaned it, stitched what he could, packed the rest, and wrapped it like a gift nobody asked for. "So I can walk?" I asked. "You can limp," she said. Her eyes came back to mine. "If you try to run, you will regret it." A door slammed somewhere down the hall. A man's voice followed. It was sharp and clipped. "Lock it down. No one goes where I can't see them." Tessa's jaw tightened. "Thorne," I said. She didn't answer. She pulled a small pen light from her pocket, clicked it on, and swept it across my eyes. Quick, careful, professional. Then she clicked it off again. "Concussion is mild," she said. "Your shoulder dislocated in the fall. They put it back. You'll feel it every time you move. That's your body telling you to stop being stupid." The lights flickered again. "Why am I in a room alone?" I asked. "You're not alone," she said. She tapped the side rail with her knuckles. "You've got me. And you're not supposed to be anywhere but here." Thorne made sure of that. The way she said his name told me everything. I watched her hands as she adjusted my IV line. No wasted motion, no nervous fidgeting. She smoothed the blanket once, checked the dressing, and then went still, like she was listening to something I could not hear. Through the wall, I heard the elevator ding, then silence. No doors, no footsteps. Tessa stood up. She walked to the door, put her hand on the handle and tried it. Nothing. She tried again, harder. The handle did not move. She came back to the bed, her voice a little lower now. "This isn't storm protocol," she said. "This is a cage." The generator coughed. The main lights died all at once. For a moment, the only light in the room came from the monitor glow and the red numbers on the IV pump. Rain hammered the glass. The building felt like it was floating. Then, low emergency lights came on in a strip along the floor, just enough to see the doorway and the rails. Red exit signs lit up like quiet warnings. Somewhere down the hall, a child started to cry. The sound cut off fast, like someone had lifted them or covered their mouth to calm them. Tessa's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and swiped the message away faster than I liked. "What?" I asked. "Staff group chat," she said. "They're saying the external doors are locked, lobby sealed. Security says it's for safety." "And you believe that?" I asked. She gave me a look that said she was not stupid. Then she reached under my bed and pulled out a plastic belongings bag. She opened it and set the contents on the blanket near my hand. My soaked jacket, my wallet, my keys, and a slim black USB drive clipped to the inside seam where I always kept it. "You brought tools," she said. "I brought proof," I answered. "If Thorne is scrambling right now, it's because he knows why I came." Her eyes flicked to the USB, then back up to my face. "He's not just scrambling," she said. "He's erasing." Thunder cracked so close the glass vibrated. The lights dimmed again. "I heard him on the radio," she whispered. "He told security to lock the server room, kill external access, no backups, no audits." My pulse kicked. "The server holds procurement logs," I said. "Vendor invoices, payment trails, the kind of records that don't lie." "And the kind of records Thorne doesn't want alive when this night is over," she said. She swallowed, and I watched the fear and anger move through her. "He told ICU to stop transfers," she added. "He told OB to stay put. He told everyone to hold their positions. He put guards at the stairwells like this is a prison." I slid my hand under the blanket and gripped the rail until my knuckles hurt. "Then we don't hold," I said. She stared at me for a long heartbeat. Then she reached for the bed controls and raised the head of the bed a little. "That's not we," she said. "That's you, bleeding through your dressing and me losing my license." "Look at me," I said. She did. "I don't care about my job anymore," I said. Internal affairs already suspended me. Thorne tried to turn this storm into my accident. If he wins tonight, people in this building pay the price. Not just me. Her eyes dropped to my leg. The gauze was starting to show a deeper stain. I watched her face as she made a choice. "Fine," she said at last, voice low. "But we do this clean." And that was the moment I knew the night nurse was stepping into the storm with me. She said we would do it clean, but the door was still locked. Tessa tried the handle again. Nothing. She put her shoulder into it like maybe it had just stuck. It did not move at all. "They deadbolted it," she said. "That is not storm protocol." "Is there a manual override?" I asked. She pointed to a small keypad near the frame. "Security controls it now," she said. "And Thorne controls security." I swung my legs over the side of the bed. Pain shot up my calves so hard my vision went white at the edges. I sucked in air through my nose and waited for the room to steady. Tessa was already there with a crutch, like she had expected this the moment I opened my mouth about the server room. "How long have you been planning to break rules?" I asked. "Since the first time I saw a patient beg for help and got told to wait for authorization," she said. I stood. My legs screamed. Not broken, just torn and furious. She did not hover. She did not grab me. She did something better. She moved the IV pole out of my way, cleared the floor, and opened a cabinet by the wall. She pulled out a heat pack, snapped it to start the chemical reaction, and rolled it between her palms. Then she froze like she remembered something important. She picked up the bedside phone, dialed 3 digits, and spoke in a calm, clipped tone. "Charge nurse, this is Tessa Rowan, ED night shift," she said. I am stepping away from direct bedside care. I need my assignment covered, documented as non-clinical emergency response. I heard a muffled voice on the other end. She kept her eyes on mine. I understand the policy, she said. I am making the call. If you need a name, put mine. She hung up, turned the phone camera toward her badge so it could see her face and ID, then set it back. Now, she said, looking at me, I am not your nurse. I am just a woman in a storm who refuses to be trapped. She rolled a linen cart in from the hallway. It was stacked high with clean sheets, wheels quiet on the tile. Sit, she ordered. I can walk, I said. You can limp, she replied. And when you limp, you are loud. I lowered myself onto the cart. The sheets smelled like detergent and something that tried to be calm. Tessa pushed. The corridor outside my room was dim. Emergency lights along the floor, red exit signs, everything else in a soft shadow. Most of the doors were closed. The hospital felt like it was holding its breath. We reached the stairwell. A security guard leaned against the wall, radio in hand. He glanced up as we approached. Linen run to sublevel, Tessa said. Supplies for the ER. Dr. Mays wants them now. She did not stumble. She did not oversell it. The guard barely looked at the cart. He nodded once and went back to his radio. Tessa pushed through the fire door. It shut behind us with a heavy sound. Only then did she let out a slow breath through her nose. The stairwell was colder than the hall. Wind whistled down through bad seals somewhere above. Concrete steps. Metal rails. A narrow window on the landing that showed black sky and sheets of rain. Her hands shook on the handle of the cart. Not big tremors. Small, tight ones. The kind a person hides by moving faster. You are freezing, I said. I am fine, she said. A gust hit the door behind us and slammed it hard. The sound echoed all the way down the shaft. Tessa flinched, then straightened like nothing had happened. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the warm heat pack she had cracked open. Take it, I said. I got it for you, she said. My leg is already on fire, I said. Your hands are not supposed to be that cold. She looked at the pack like it was permission. Then she took it, but instead of keeping it, she knelt by my injured leg and pressed the heat pack over the bulge of the bandage. Heat hit my calf. Sharp and deep. I gripped the edge of the cart until my fingers hurt. Tessa's eyes came up to mine. It was not pity. It was focus, like she was measuring my limits and planning around them. Keep pressure there, she said. I can, I answered, and reached down. Our hands met on the heat pack. Her palm settled over mine, warm and steady. We both went still. Overhead, the light buzzed. The wind moaned through the stairwell. Her breath caught once in her chest, a small sound she tried to hide. Do not let go, she murmured. She was not just talking about the heat pack. Footsteps echoed somewhere below. A door clanged. Voices bounced up the concrete shaft. Tessa pulled her hand away first, but her fingers trailed along my wrist like they did not want to. We started down. Floors blurred by. 2, 3, 4. On one landing, I glanced out the narrow window. The parking lot was a shallow lake, water reflecting broken headlights. Cars sat half-drowned, alarms dead. Tessa stopped on the next landing and listened. A radio crackled faint, then went quiet again. You said Thorne tried to arrange your accident, she whispered. I pulled my wallet from my pocket and flipped it open. Inside was my auditor badge and a small card printed with a QR code. What is that? She asked. My access token, I said. Not for doors, for systems. Her eyes sharpened. I was not supposed to be here tonight, I said. I came anyway. Last week I left a special admin account in the hospital's server environment. It is hidden, documented, and tied to a dual control override. If Thorne is scrubbing logs right now, he thinks he is cleaning everything. He is not looking for something he does not know exists. You set a trap, she said. I set a net, I said. Tonight we pull it tight. And if your leg gives out, she asked. I shifted my weight to show her what I could do, even with the pain. Then I crawl, I said. Something in her face changed. Less fear, more resolve. The sublevel smelled like metal and damp air. Pipes ran along the ceiling, sweating. Water pooled in low spots on the concrete floor. The emergency lights turned everything a dull orange. Tessa lifted the hem of her skirt and stepped where the water was shallow. She kept her phone light pointed at the floor, then at signs on the wall. "The server room is past the boiler," she said. "Thorn keeps it locked like it has gold in it." "Then we will not ask the front door nicely," I said. The door to the server room had a keypad that glowed red. Tessa tried a code anyway. "Error." She looked at me. I dropped to one knee with a sharp breath and opened a small panel under the pad. Inside were wires and a small network bridge and a service port. "You know how to do this?" she asked. "I know how they cheat," I said. "And I know how they forget to secure the easy path." I pulled a small metal dongle from my pocket, clipped it into the port, and opened a terminal app on my phone. I typed in a short string, hands unsteady but trained. Red, amber, green. The lock clicked. Tessa stared at the panel like the building had just confessed something ugly. "You did that before tonight," she said. "I did it for nights like this," I said. Inside, the server room was cold and humming. Black racks lined up in rows. Small lights blinked in patterns. The air felt dry and thin. Tessa closed the door behind us and pointed her phone at a camera in the corner. "Camera," she whispered. "Looped," I said, pointing at a junction box on the ceiling. 2-minute cycle. We have to be fast." She rolled a chair to a console and turned the monitor toward me. "Tell me what to do," she said. I sat, my legs stretched out, throbbing. I placed my hands on the keyboard. "Flashlight," I said. She leaned close, holding her phone above my hands. The light fell over my fingers, over the screen, over the reflection of my face and hers. I logged into my hidden account and started pulling logs. Vendor payments. Contract approvals. After hours access events. Names lined up with numbers that did not match shift times. "Thorn," she whispered when his username appeared in an entry that should not exist. "Yeah," I said. I started a snapshot. A forensic package that would save everything at once and seal it. A progress bar appeared. Her hand landed lightly on my shoulder, steadying herself as she watched the screen. My whole body reacted to that touch. "You are bleeding again," she said quietly. I followed her gaze. A thin red line had escaped the edge of the bandage and tracked down toward my heel. Tessa grabbed gauze from a nearby shelf, knelt beside my leg, and pressed down firm and careful. I hissed. "Sorry," she said. She did not lift her hand. "Do it," I said through my teeth. Her face was close now, hair falling forward, eyes focused first on the bandage, then flicking up to mine. The monitor glow painted her features a soft blue. Her thumb brushed the edge of my knee where the bandage ended. My breath caught, not from pain this time. Her eyes saw it, stayed there. "Hudson," she whispered. "Tell me to stop," I said. My voice came out low and rough. Her fingers tightened once against my leg. The pressure was not an accident. "Don't," she breathed. The space between us closed on its own. She leaned in. I met her halfway. The kiss was not gentle and slow. It was sharp and real and full of everything the night had already taken from us. Her hand stayed on my leg, anchoring me. My hand slid to her waist, not pulling, just holding, waiting for any sign from her that this was wrong. She gave me the opposite. She stepped closer. Outside the door, a radio crackled. "Thorn wants eyes on sub-level. Now." Tessa broke the kiss first, breath shaking. She pressed her forehead to mine for one quick heartbeat, then pulled back. The progress bar on the screen hit 100%. I grabbed my black USB drive from the bed bag, plugged it into the console, and copied the snapshot. A list of file names scrolled past. One at the bottom caught my eye. Satellite_uplink_requests. Log. "Satellite?" Tessa asked. I opened it. Emergency communications, rooftop gear, access times. "Rooftop," I said. "Disaster kit. Uplink. Either he is moving data out or pretending he can." The server room door rattled hard. Someone yanked on the handle. Tessa's eyes widened. "We cannot go back the way we came," she said. I pulled the USB free and pressed it into her palm. "Then we go up," I said. "To the roof." She looked at the drive, then at me. For a second, fear flashed across her face. Then she nodded. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." The server room door shook again. This time the handle turned. Tessa grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the back of the room. A narrow maintenance door sat half hidden behind one of the racks with a faded sign. "Authorized personnel only." She shoved it open. A cold gust of air hit my face. "Maintenance corridor," she said. "It loops around to the north stairwell. From there we can reach the roof access." We slipped through and shut the door just as the server room door opened behind us. The corridor was narrow and smelled like dust and old metal. Pipes ran along the ceiling. Emergency lights painted the concrete walls in dull orange. Water had seeped in from somewhere, just enough to cover the floor in a thin, reflective sheet. The first step I took sent pain shooting up my leg. Warmth spread inside the bandage. Fresh blood. "Keep moving," Tessa said. She stayed close enough to steady me if I slipped, but she did not grab unless I needed it. We turned a corner and hit deeper water. It rose over my shoe, soaking into the bandage, sending a sharp pulse through the torn muscle. Tessa glanced down at my leg, then back to my face. "Can you make it?" she asked. "Ask a better question," I said. She almost smiled. Almost. We reached the cross hall where the maintenance corridor met a staff hallway lined with supply closets. The red exit sign at the far end pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Behind us, a door crashed open. "Sub-level corridor, east wing," a man's voice called. Thorne. "He is bleeding. Follow the trail." I looked down. He was not wrong. A thin red smear marred the wet floor behind us in a broken line. "Closet," Tessa whispered. She pushed open the nearest supply door and pulled me inside. We were pressed close together between mops, boxes, and metal shelves. She reached up and hit the light switch. Darkness fell around us, broken only by a sliver of orange glow under the door. Her body was warm against my chest. I could feel her breathing, fast but controlled. Footsteps splashed in the hall. "Check every door," Thorne ordered. "He is limping. He did not get far." Tessa's hand found my wrist in the dark. Her fingers wrapped around it, tight. "Look at me," she mouthed. I turned my head. Even in the dim light, I could see her eyes. Wide, clear, not broken. We held each other's gaze while Boots came closer. A guard walked past our door. He was close enough that I could smell wet wool and sweat. The knob did not turn. He kept going. Then the footsteps stopped. Thorne's voice came from just outside. "He is bleeding," he said, lower now. "Where is the trail?" Silence. "Back this way," a guard answered. "It turns right." Tessa dropped her eyes to the floor. A smear of blood in the water pointed away from our door, down the opposite hall. I realized what she had done. At some point in that tight little space, when I was thinking about the pain in my leg and the sound of our hearts, she had reached down, pressed her hand into the blood on the tile, and dragged it the other way like a brush stroke. My chest tightened. She looked back up at me, reading my thoughts in my face. "USB?" she mouthed. I shook my head once. She held out her hand. I pressed the drive into her palm. "You go," I whispered. "Roof, find the satellite kit. Call for help. Use the logs if you have to." "And you?" she whispered back. I did not say anything brave. "I slow them down," I said. "You move faster without me." Quote. Her eyes flashed with anger and something else that looked too much like fear. Then she brought her clean hand up and framed my jaw. Her palm was warm. Her fingers were firm and sure. She pulled my face down and kissed me once, quick and hard. Not a question, a promise. "Stay alive," she breathed. Then she slipped out of the closet, staying low, hugging the wall. In a second she was gone, moving down the hall toward the stairwell. I waited one breath, then opened the closet door on the other side and stepped out into the main corridor on purpose. Thorne saw me from the far turn almost at once. He was in a dark suit with a security badge clipped to his belt like he owned the place. 2 guards flanked him. "There you are," he said. His voice was calm in a way that made my skin crawl. "Mr. Kane, always finding problems where there are none." I lifted my hands. "Looking for me?" I said. He pulled a heavy taser from its holster and turned it on. The electric crackle cut through the sound of the storm above. "You were always good at digging through records," he said as he walked closer. "But you never understood timing. Tonight is not about numbers. It is about control." He did not need to kill me. He just needed me to stop moving. He closed the distance and drove the taser into my side. The world went white and sharp all at once. My muscles locked. My jaw clenched. The floor rushed up to meet me. Then everything went black around the edges. When it came back, I was staring at the stained ceiling tiles in the ER waiting room. I was on a gurney, wrists zipped tied to the rails, ankles bound. The big glass lobby doors showed the storm outside like a movie. Rain ran in rivers. Wind shoved at the glass. The main lights were still out. Only dim emergency fixtures and red signs lit the big room. Thorne paced in front of me with his phone to his ear. "Find her," he said into it. "Roof access, stairwells, closets. She has a drive. I want it, and I want him where I can see him." He ended the call and walked over to me. "Where is it?" he asked, too casual. "Where is what?" I said. "The drive," he said. "The one you were so eager to hide. You think I do not know you, Hudson? You always like to keep a copy." I tasted blood, copper, and salt. I smiled anyway. "Gone," I said. "In this weather?" he scoffed. "She did not leave the building. She is hiding. You gave it to her." I did not answer. I looked past him at the trauma cart near the wall. Scissors. Gauze. Trauma shears. The zip ties dug into my skin when I flexed my hands. His radio crackled. "Roof," a voice said. "We saw someone at the satellite kit." Thorne's head snapped up. "I am on my way," he said, and turned away from me. He walked fast toward the side corridor, then faster. In that moment, I stopped being his problem. Tessa was. He disappeared through the doorway. I exhaled once and rolled my wrists. The zip ties bit deeper. I shifted my hands, turned them, and hooked one tie under the edge of the trauma shears on the cart. It took 3 tries to pull them close enough. My fingers closed around the handle. I twisted my wrist hard and pulled the plastic between the blades. The shears bit in. Pain shot through my hands. I kept sawing until the tie snapped. One hand free. The second tie came off faster. My legs were harder to reach, but not impossible. I sat up, biting back a groan as my calf screamed. I bent forward until my abs shook, cut the ties at my ankles, and ripped them loose. For a second, I just sat there, breathing hard, listening to the storm. Then I slid off the gurney. My leg almost quit under me. I caught myself on the trauma cart and grabbed a spare crutch from the corner. Every step hurt, but I could move. I moved. The elevators were dead, stuck somewhere between floors. I headed for the stairwell. The red exit sign glowed over the door like the only honest thing left in the building. Up 1 flight. 2. 3. By the 4th, my calf felt like someone had stuffed it with broken glass. Warm wet spread into my shoe again. I stopped once, pressed my palm against the bandage and pushed, steady, like Tessa had. Then I kept going. At the roof access, the door was half open, banging against the frame each time the wind hit it. Rain blew in sideways. I pushed out into the night. The roof was not flat and open like in movies. It was broken into shapes by big HVAC units, vents, and short walls. Wind roared in the open lanes between them, then dropped in the sheltered spots. Rain slapped my face and soaked through my clothes in seconds. I stayed low, using the metal housings as cover. Near the far side, by a satellite dish mounted to a short post, I saw her. Tessa was crouched behind a large metal unit, half shielded from the wind. Her hair was plastered to her face. Her blouse was soaked and clung to her shoulders. The nurse cap was gone. Her hands worked on a bundle of cables and a heavy satellite phone from the emergency kit. The USB drive was still between her fingers. She looked up and saw me. Relief hit her face first. Then anger. "You should not be up here," she shouted over the wind. "I am not leaving you up here," I shouted back. She moved toward me in a low crouch, one hand on the parapet wall for balance. When she reached me, her fingers closed around my forearm for one quick second. She checked my leg with her eyes. She saw the blood, the limp, all of it. "You called it in?" I asked. She shook her head and held up the satellite phone. The small screen showed a low battery icon blinking slow. No data uplink, just a basic call interface. "It will not send files," she said. She leaned close so I could hear her. "Battery is almost dead. I can make one voice call. That is all." "So the uplink was a bluff," I said. Her mouth curved in a fierce little smile. "I needed Thorn to chase the idea of stolen data," she said, "not the drive in my pocket." The roof door slammed open again. Thorn stepped out into the rain with 2 guards behind him. Water slicked his hair back. His suit jacket was soaked and heavy. He saw us near the dish and smiled like we were just an item on a checklist. "Tessa," he called, "hand it over. You do not want to be the reason people die tonight." Tessa did not move. She did not hide. She lifted her phone instead. Not the satellite one, but her own. The screen glowed. "Say it again," she shouted back. "Say you locked the doors. Say you ordered the server wipe." Quote. I saw the red circle on her screen. She was recording him, in the middle of a storm, on the roof. Thorn's smile slipped. Thorn took a step toward us. Rain hit his face. His hair was plastered back. His eyes were sharp and mean. "You think a video scares me?" he shouted. "I locked the doors for safety. I ordered the wipe to protect this hospital. That is my job." There it was, the words he never thought anyone would save. Tessa did not flinch. "You locked people in without telling the state," she shouted back. "You tried to erase the records that would prove it. That is not safety. That is a cover." One of the guards shifted, uneasy. Thorn saw it and snapped at him without looking away from us. "Do not move," he barked. "Both of you stay right there." He stepped closer again. "Give me the phone, Tessa," he said. His tone dropped low. "I can protect you. You are a good nurse. You do not want your name in this." She held the phone close to her chest. "I am tired of being quiet," she said. "I am tired of watching people like you act like this place is yours." He lunged. I moved without thinking. I planted my crutch and shoved my shoulder into his chest. My legs screamed. The wet roof made everything slippery. Thorn grabbed my jacket, trying to throw me off. He had more strength. I had more reason. He pushed me back toward the edge. For a second, my heel slipped. Rain washed under my shoe. My stomach flipped. A hand grabbed the back of my belt and held. "Tessa." The grip was strong and sure. "I have you," she shouted into my ear. That was enough. I shifted my weight and let Thorn's own push carry him sideways instead of forward. His foot hit a slick patch of tar. He went down hard against the side of the big HVAC unit. The metal rang. His head connected with a dull thud. He did not go out cold, but he stayed down, dazed. The taser slid across the wet roof toward the edge. One of the guards reached for it. Tessa moved faster. She kicked the taser under the unit with the side of her foot, then stepped back behind me again. The second guard looked between Thorn, us, and the edge of the roof. His jaw tightened. "How bad is it?" he shouted at me. "Bad enough that someone outside needs to know," I said. Sirens cut through the storm, faint at first, then closer. They were not the hospital's own tones. This was deeper, louder. City police. Maybe state patrol. Tessa pulled the satellite phone from the cradle. The low battery icon blinked in the rain. She thumbed the call button and held it to her ear, then shouted to be heard over the wind. "This is Nurse Tessa Rowan at St. Jude's," she yelled. "We are on the roof. The building was locked down without state notice. We have evidence of records being erased and doors being sealed. We need outside help now." She listened for a second, then nodded. "Yes," she said. "We are safe for the moment. The suspect is Victor Thorn. He is on the roof with us." She ended the call. The phone screen went dark and stayed dark. "One call," she said. "Battery is dead now." "One was enough," I said. The roof access door slammed open again. 2 officers in wet uniforms pushed through, flashlights up. Behind them stood sheriff's deputies, their faces pale from the climb. "Hands where we can see them," one officer shouted. I lifted my hands. Tessa lifted hers, the phone still in her grip. The guards did the same. Then one of the officers saw Thorne on the ground. "Victor Thorne," he called. "Get your hands up." Thorne blinked, tried to push himself up, then slumped back, breathing hard. "You cannot be up here," he muttered. "This is an internal matter." "No," the officer said, "not anymore." They cuffed him on his knees, read him his rights right there on the roof. Rain soaked into his suit. The storm did not care who he was. Tessa's shoulders relaxed just a little. Not much. Just enough that I could see the weight shift. We went back inside with the officers. The rest of the night was chaos, but it was a different kind of chaos now. Generators came back online with the help of outside crews. Doors were unlocked under police watch. Patients were moved where they needed to go. Nurses and doctors worked with flashlights and muscle and quiet anger. I ended up back in a bed, this time in a curtained bay near the ER desk. A paramedic cut my soaked bandage off and swore under his breath. "Tore it open again," he said. "You really want this leg later, you know that?" "I am kind of attached to it," I said. He snorted and wrapped it again, tighter and cleaner. Tessa stood at the foot of the bed, wrapped in an emergency blanket that made her look like she was wearing a silver cape. Her hair was a damp mess. Her blouse was wrinkled and stained. She looked tired in a way that went past the skin. A detective came by to take statements. I handed over my auditor badge, my notes, and the whole story from the parking garage to the roof. Tessa handed over her phone and showed the video and the staff group chat and the call log. The USB drive, still safe and dry in her pocket, went into an evidence bag and got logged, tagged, and signed. "You both will need to testify," the detective said. "I will," I said. "On one leg," Tessa added under her breath. The detective left. The storm outside finally started to move off. The sound of rain softened from rage to a steady tap. The glass stopped shaking. The ER quieted down to a normal kind of busy. People whispered instead of shouted. Machines beeped in steady patterns. It was late. Or early. Hard to tell. The charge nurse told Tessa to go home twice. She did not move. She pulled a rolling chair up beside my bed instead and sat down. The room was dim now, just one small light over my head and the soft glow of the monitor. The hallway sounds were muffled by the curtain. For the first time all night, it felt almost safe. Tessa looked at me. No storm, no orders, no radios, just us. Her voice dropped low, almost a whisper. "It's lonely here at night," she said. "When the alarms stop and the visitors go home. Can we talk until morning comes?" The words went straight to some quiet place in my chest. "Yeah," I said, "we can." So we did. We talked about small things first. Coffee versus tea. Why she liked nights more than days. Why I became an auditor instead of a cop. We traded pieces of our lives in low voices while the sky outside the window slowly shifted from black to gray. At some point, she laughed. It was soft and real and tired. At some point, my eyes closed for a minute. When I opened them, she was still there, chin in her hand, watching the window as the first thin line of morning showed up behind the clouds. "You stayed," I said. "You stayed too," she answered, "on a bad leg." 3 months later, the hospital lobby smelled like new paint and fresh floors. They held a small reopening event. Not a big one. Just enough for the board, a few reporters, and the staff who had not quit. I stood in a corner, weight on my good leg, a cane instead of a crutch now. The scar on my calf was a thick, pale line. It pulled when I walked, but it held. Internal Affairs had cleared my name. The state picked up Thorne's case. The forensic package from my hidden account and the USB had done their job. He was facing charges I would not wish on anyone. Tessa crossed the lobby in a clean set of scrubs and a soft sweater over them. No cap this time. Her hair was up in a loose knot. She came to stand next to me like we'd been doing it for years. "Back to work?" she asked. "Back to work," I said. They gave me a desk in the compliance office. Less running, more typing. "That is better for your legs," she said. "Better for my pulse, too," I said. She smiled. Silence settled between us, but it was a warm kind this time, not sharp. "I switched to permanent nights," she said. "I told them if anything strange happens again, I want to be here when it does." "I believe that," I said. She looked up at me, eyes soft now, not guarded. "So what are we?" she asked. "I am not your nurse. You are not my patient." I did not give a speech. I lifted my hand and cupped her jaw, gentle and steady. I waited. She leaned into my touch. That was my answer. I bent my head and kissed her. It was slower now, with no sirens screaming in the background, no storm shaking the glass. Just two people who had already seen each other at the worst and still chose the same room. When we pulled back, she rested her forehead against mine for one quiet breath. "Night shift is still lonely," she said. "I know," I said. "Good thing you know a guy who does not sleep much." She laughed, and this time it was light. Outside, the sky was clear. Inside, the lights were steady. The hospital still had problems. Life still had storms. But for the first time in a long time, I was not facing any of it alone. And when the night nurse asked if we could talk until morning, I knew my answer would always be yes.